pick and roll with it. Make a pick and roll with it. Betting weekly. Fast break. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown.
Happy Friday, everyone. It is Betting Weekly Fast Break. I am Doug Kezirian alongside professional handicapper Wes Reynolds, and we have a loaded WNBA card to break down. Even look ahead to the weekend a little bit. Busy stretch of games here in the W after just one game last night, Wes, but it was a fun game. How are you, my friend?
I'm all right, man. Yeah, it certainly was a competitive game down the stretch, and Valkyries now have won 2 in a row on the road.
That's a team that I asked you because I couldn't figure them out, and you kind of laughed saying you couldn't either. Just, what to expect from this Valkyries team moving forward. An expansion team. They've already surpassed expectations, and now they lose their best player and all-star Kayla Thornton for the year, but they've bounced back with impressive road wins as an outright dog. So there's a lot to still like with this Natalie Nakase-led team, and the Valkyries could get that 8th and final playoff spot. They're not dead just yet. It's not just for the Mystics. It's not just for the Sparks. So they are certainly in the mix after they held on, and the Mystics made a valiant push down the stretch. So Golden State, back-to-back weak fourth quarters, but they had built enough of a lead to hang on. But we have some interesting games today coming up, and just want to remind everyone, if you like what you see and you hear on our show, sign up for the newsletter, get exclusive tips, and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. And we always want to encourage you to join the conversation. We have a lot of active contributors here in the comments section. So please do that on the Bet Rivers Network here under the Betting Weekly umbrella. There are some interesting scheduling spots, and I want to start with the Valkyries and the back-to-back games, right? So they're in Chicago to face the Sky, who've been obviously stumbling, and they are not playoff bound. Xanda Lassini, who missed yesterday's game that you touched on, is a questionable. So she's going to be questionable for tonight. Road chalk, usually not their best spot, the Valkyries. They were 5.5-point favorites last Sunday, lost by 31. Different scheduling spot, obviously. But the Sky aren't exactly, firepower across the board. But, it's still 5.5 points, all things considered. I'm waiting for an update on Ariel Atkins. She has not played for several weeks. So at least they're going to reevaluate her today. What's your read on this game?
Yeah, look, this is a bad spot for the Valkyries. I think clearly this is their fourth game in what will be 6 days. They played at Connecticut on Sunday, then got the win in Atlanta and took a big loss. Got the win in Atlanta on Tuesday, played last night, and now a back-to-back at Chicago. Numbers gone up, largely because of the Angel factor that she's already been ruled out here. We'll see if Atkins is gonna go. It's tough for me to bet the Sky almost in any situation because I think that they're a terrible team, and I don't think it's getting any better. But no thank you on laying this spot for the Valkyries. I just don't think that this team is used to that. You come off 2 games where you've won as road underdogs, and now you're a somewhat sizable road chalk. It's 5.5 at Bet Rivers. This is looking like it's probably going to touch 6 too, as more people kind of see that Angel Reese is not going to play tonight. So this is going to be a stay away for me. I can't bet the Sky with how they're playing because it's not like they've been getting beat in competitive games. They've been getting blown out lately. And you wonder, even though there's still plenty left to go in the season, if they've kind of if they're resigned to their fate a little bit, that, okay, we're not a good team. This has got to be remade. They tried to do it over the offseason, couldn't do it, but no thank you on Golden State. Golden State, by the way, has another road game too on Sunday where they finish out a 5-game road trip at Las Vegas. That shootout where they both scored over 100 points last time they played. So, yeah, this is one I'm going to leave alone. Probably the Cardoso props, if you're looking at that, are going to get taxed here because she's going to see more time with Angel Reese, obviously not there. So would maybe look at unders, but nothing at the current numbers that I'll play.
So Monique Williams or Billings could be out for this game. I think we're going to see a track meet. I really like the over in this game. Now, the Sky team total's a team I've been betting under up until a couple games ago. I actually think they have figured out their offense with Rebecca Allen and Rachel Banham. They can bomb a bunch of threes, and those are good shooters. They're really solid shooters. Elizabeth Williams can do enough in the post. Same with Cardoso and Kia Nurse. Not the fleetest of foot, but she can bomb as well. I'll tell you what, this Golden State team is so well coached, Wes. They hunt matchups. They do so many screens to get mismatches in the post. The broadcast team was discussing it last night, and I think they're going to just light it up. I think this is a banger of an over. I like the over 153.5. Sky team total 74.5 is interesting. I like the Valks team total more than anything. So I'm going to do 2 plays on this game. I'm going to do the over for the game, 153.5. And then if somehow the Sky just are inept offensively, because the Valkyries do have good defense and stuff, I'm going to play the over Valkyries team total, and that's looking at 79.5. I because of the number of games in a row, I think there's a little bit of a letdown spot for the Valks, but I think it's on defense. And I think we see a performance like we saw last Sunday with the Fever defensively, who were saying, okay, let's play this guy, no Angel Reese. And this was a track meet of a game. I think it's going to be low intensity on defense and layup lines and open gym shooting for both teams. I think this is a good over spot as well. So, but I'll protect it a little bit because I'm confident the Valkyries to be able to score here.
Yeah, let me go with one, I guess, here that I did just find. Rachel Banham over 11.5 points. I think it's minus 129. I like to go sometimes a little bit more conservative on these props, so I'll lay a little bit of vig here. Last 3 games have been 11.5, and she's gone over the last 3, 13 against Seattle, 26 against the Fever, and then 16 against the Mystics on Tuesday night, or Wednesday night, rather. So she's going to get more usage, clearly, because somebody has to score. I think for this team, and she probably, assuming Atkins doesn't play, might be your most dependable scorer that you have. So, and the Valks are using some young guards in the backcourt. Rookie Carla Lighty, or Leety, however you pronounce it, is going to be playing. So they rotate a lot, but I think Banham is going to get plenty of looks here. So Banham over 11.5 points.
I think that's a great look. I like her threes usually because she's such a chucker and she doesn't have the most quickness. So she usually needs to get her shots off when the defense has a mental lapse. But she drives, gets contact around the free throw line and stuff. I think that's a great bet. So I endorse that play as well. Let's go check out another game. We have what would have been the star attraction tonight, Fever in Dallas to face the Wings. It would have been Caitlin Clark against Paige Beckers. They have yet to play against each other at the professional level. So this will be the second time Clark's going to miss the showdown of the Fever and Wings on a Friday night that the schedule makers planned at the beginning of the season. Instead, it's Fever 4.5 up from 3.5. And this over-under keeps going up. I bet it the other day at 167.5, Wes. That's what it opened. This morning, it was 171. I wrote a piece in the Post, the New York Post for this, and now it's 175. And frankly, I still like it over.
Yeah, I'm not going to play the under. I don't want to play it at 8 points worse of the number. And I know it doesn't take a lot of volume necessarily to move these numbers, especially in WNBA overnights. But probably one I'm going to leave alone. I don't think the move to the over is wrong at all. Numbers right where it is at 4. That's where I would make it. So I didn't really see an advantage there. Fever finally are 3 games over 500. They have not been able to do that. Last year they weren't able to do that, and this year they have not been able to do that. Of course, still without Caitlin here. Chloe Bibby has been a nice pickup. They just announced they signed her for the till end of the season, so not just like a little hardship contract. Chloe Bibby was with the Valkyries, and she's done very well. And the Fever have played some solid ball. I think over the last couple of games. Nice comeback, a very good offensive output against the Mercury, led by Ari McDonald. So maybe Ari McDonald, if you want to look, if you can find an under points out there, that could be. It's 9.5 because she had a huge game, by the way, against the Mercury. And I like to play sometimes against those outliers there, where she had, I think, 27. Against Phoenix the other night, and had 10 in the Sunday game against the Sky, so barely went over there. But I like to play a lot of those where you get a player that doesn't usually give you that output, and then all of a sudden has a massive game. So I would be looking at that. Not going to play it, at least as of now. So I've actually got nothing on this one.
Okay. I jumped the gun a little bit. You mentioned the Fever have won 3 straight. Really nice comeback win in the last game at home against the Mercury. The numbers come up to 4.5. This Dallas team's nice. They have some nice stretches. And if Enrique goes off, that's fine. She can obviously play all-star caliber ball, but I just don't think she does it on a nightly basis, right? So Fever are in a groove, and they've adjusted to life without Caitlin. Now, that's not saying they're better without her, but I know you said you're passing on the side, but would you have a lean on either of these? 4.5's getting rich. At some point, the value's on the dog, and we talked about that yesterday with the Valkyries against the Mystics. I'm tempted to play. I think there's too much firepower on the Fever. I think kind of like Paige can only do so much, and if Erika's gunning, I think the Fever could blow them out.
4.5 to me is getting a little bit high. And by the way, this is the start of a 4-game road trip here, because they go to Seattle and then to LA, who's already beaten the Fever twice, and then that rematch with Phoenix. So this is the hard part of the Fever schedule, and this is where we're maybe going to find out a little bit of something about this team, not something exclusively, considering the fact that number 22 is not on the floor. But I feel like 4.5 is maybe getting a little bit high. If it went a little bit higher to about 5 or above, I think the Wings maybe could be worth a look here, because I still don't know the Fever, even though they've been good lately, they still can be a little bit inconsistent. So are you ready to kind of trust them in terms of laying the points on the road? About Enrique, I feel like the point total, especially if you could get under 16.5, might be worth a look, because she's had them games where she's had she had a very good game against New York, and then she'll have another game where she has like 4. So there's a lot of high variance there with the Enrique. So I'd say just be careful on those over points props.
Okay. So be careful. Buyer beware. Certainly fair there. So maybe Bet Rivers post some options there. You can kind of scour those options. That's great. I know what you mean, but I think there's the shock value to the system of playing without Clark's not there. I think they're in a groove, and the Fever just get easy buckets. Now their defense lacks intensity, so that's not something I love. But man, it's
Well,
it's tempting.
What I worry about, though, is the Fever guards against this Wings team. Like, we even saw it last year too, and we saw him earlier this year at home that the Fever won big. They've got difficulty when Caitlin's on the floor, because Caitlin is more of a pusher of the tempo, gets that rebound and pushes, and that's where the Wings get lost defensively. I think more often than not is in transition. And I don't know if McDonald and Colson, who are basically the 2-point guards, sometimes Sophie Cunningham also handles the ball, and Kelsey Mitchell can. I don't know if they can exploit the half court, or if they can exploit the mismatches defensively as much as Caitlin does. And that's why I'm a little gun shy to lay this number with the Fever, even though they're certainly getting the action against what's been a pretty downtrodden team most of the season.
Okay, so I'm only going to play the team total for the Fever. I think we're going to have a track meet. There's a chance the Wings just shoot themselves in the foot. So I'm going to play the team total over for just Indiana here, and that's 89.5. It's pretty high, but I think it's the right way to play this game. Minus 118 is your juice. We check in on the Mercury. Both teams coming off disappointing losses. Mercury had, now it was a road game, but they were up double digits against the Fever, and they're laughing, Alyssa Thomas, all this stuff, and then they lose. And then the Dream blow one at home to the Valkyries. And so this line was 3, got to 4.5, back down to 3.5. No Brittany Griner for Atlanta. Well, I'm checking the status of Jordan Canada. Who do you trust more, Wes, to respond off a disappointing loss? Obviously, the Dreams loss was more disappointing, but who do you trust more here?
It would be the Mercury, but just because I think that they have a little bit more firepower and they're certainly healthier, as you mentioned. But kind of a negative feeling coming off that loss, where of course Dewana Bonner made her return to Indiana after she played 9 games there and then won it out, and then some people were upset about the booing and all that stuff. There's never a loss for drama in this league,
They got to grow up.
I know. And that's the thing, not to veer too far off topic here. It's like, you want more money, and I think you deserve it as players, but it's like, you're going to get booed sometimes. It's professional sports. Do you want to be a big time league or don't you? So I thought that was ridiculous. But anyway, back to the game here. It's already moved because I do trust the Mercury. I wish I would have actually gotten this on the opener at like 1 or 1.5, and I'd have laid money line here. But I think the Mercury probably are the right side. I trust them a little bit more just because they're a little bit more. I guess they're both a veteran team, and these are two relatively new teams as well, because you have so much new personnel on both of these teams with key players, but the injuries with like if Jordan Canada doesn't go, they are so shorthanded in the backcourt right now with Ryan Howard already being out. So I think that that's going to be really, really difficult for the Dream if she doesn't go, and I would have no interest if she does not play.
I would bet the Mercury. The Dream, I really liked what I got from was reading about Klesko, their new head coach, and I liked the other pieces, and I love Alicia Gray. I think she should win Most Improved. I was going to make the Dream my biggest bet of the preseason for win totals on the over. And then Jordan Canada went down with a knee injury, and they didn't give you an official word. They said reevaluate in a couple weeks. And that was the key for me. So I laid off. Canada is excellent. I think this league, and I think some teams are starting to realizing it, especially Indiana, which went and picked up Ari McDonald, and now she's starting when Caitlin Clark is out. You need a quick point guard. You absolutely do. Look at the Sky. They're completely downtrodden without a quick point guard. And you can't put Van Lith in there. She's terrible, and she's slow and methodical. So you just absolutely need a lightning quick point guard who has great decision making, and that's what Jordan Canada has. So if she's out, I think it's a banger on the Mercury. As much as I love Alicia Gray, I got to monitor the status of Jordan Canada. So I'm gonna pass on that one as well. Liberty visit the Sun, the battle of the tri-state area. New York had a exciting game with the Lynx in a rematch of the finals. They ultimately lost in Minnesota. They're back home, then take the bus to Connecticut to face the obviously the worst team in the league. 172.5 your total. 12-point road chalk. No Brianna Stewart still. Now, Wes, Liberty have lost 3 straight, but they did show signs of life in that Minnesota game. What kind of performance do you expect from them in a classic bounce back opportunity against a really bad team?
You would think it would be a bounce back because we mentioned the schedule yesterday where they have the 2 with Connecticut, then they have a home and home with the Wings, and the road game being the 4th of that start to August. But that's where we were talking about the win total with the Liberty. It's like you might want to wait if you like the under here, because those, at least on paper, they're going to be favored in all 4 of those. So you win for those 4, you're all of a sudden you're 21-9, and like, okay, all's right with the world. We've won 4 in a row, but this is a come down a little bit because the Lynx got them, and the Lynx, I think, had more sense of urgency because they lost in the final, so that was their first crack. We always see that, like in the NBA or in the NHL, that team that knocked you out of the playoffs, boy, you're geared up the first time you get them, and certainly Minnesota was, especially in that second half. But would lean Liberty. Double digits, even against a bad team, is still kind of a heavy tag on the road. And we've seen the Connecticut Sun, even on just a couple of occasions, kind of rise up and be competitive in these games. They beat Seattle, I think, outright as a double digit dog. They, I think, covered against the Fever a couple weeks ago. So it'd be Liberty or nothing, but I choose nothing here.
Yeah, I'm there with you. And you can't look at the Sun. They had a 9-game stretch without Marina Mabrey. I think you just throw that out, right? Like, they are so limited with firepower, and to have Mabrey missing the game, that changes everything. So she's back, played well against the Valkyries. Everyone did, and they beat them by 31. It was a terrible scheduling spot for the Valks. And then the Sun go back to losing by like 30 against a motivated, I think, Storm team. So I think this game they win by like 16. But the problem is the Liberty's defense is just not good. They won't be that intense in this game because they know they're better than the Sun, and then I think Sabrina's going to go off. I really do. I think she plays within herself, but she also goes off. They absolutely need this win. I just don't trust their defense. Now, look, they faced the Dallas Wings when Enrique and Page were going off. They faced the Sparks, who were hitting everything. They faced the Lynx, who hit every three. It was some tough, shooting that they had to encounter. I think the Sun are limited in their ability to do that, but they're also still not a good team. But some of those players, like Tina Charles will be good. Mabry will be good. I love what Sanaya Rivers is doing. Hartley's been a lot better. Nelson Adodo's been good. Even Morrow off the bench. Like, all these players, remember, in sports, you're allowed to get better. And a lot of these young pieces have gotten better. I just don't know if I want to lay 12. The total feels right. The team totals feel right. Any props catch your eye? Maybe Sabrina props?
Yeah, not a lot in this game, because one thing keep in mind for the Liberty, we were talking about their depth, not only with Stewart being out, but a couple other injuries. Naira Sabali, Kennedy Burks missed a couple games. Emma Mieseman may make her debut tonight. I don't know if you've seen anything to the contrary, but that signing was now finally made official. It was like the worst kept secret. We knew about this for like 3 or 4 weeks. So I know she's listed on a report as questionable for visa issues, but we'll see if she's going to go, because I think I'm not expecting, if she plays, that she's going to play full minutes, but I think she's going to probably, you would guess, make her debut tonight. So you've got to incorporate her somehow and see what you've got, and do a little bit of experimentation, I think, with, okay, who can we play her with where she's most effective? And you're going to have such a short sample size. So that's something that kind of throws it off, because she's going to be, I think, a key cog perhaps for this team. She was high in demand, and, then it became obvious that she was going to be signing with the Liberty.
Man, I'm really tempted to do Sabrina points plus assists or something like that. I think she can go crazy off. Why don't I do that? I'm going to play over 28.5 points plus assists. There's a chance it's a blowout and she sits the fourth, but I think she's so valuable, and she's so her game's in a groove, and she's a team leader. I'm going to play that. Sabrina over 28.5 points plus assists. I'm not worried about the rebounds. It's minus 117 at Bet Rivers. Any opinion there?
No, I wouldn't disagree necessarily with that angle here. I want to see the Liberty. I still think it's a spot that should be a smash, but you put maybe kind of let up at the end, but you still come off a tough loss at Minnesota, and then made a little bit of a late rally to make it get inside the number, unfortunately for some. But I don't want anything with the Sun here. I know that they are making little incremental improvements. I think that you'll get an effort here, facing the Liberty, because it is kind of a little Northeast rivalry up there. But I'm going to stay away. I want to see how many minutes Mieseman is going to get, or if she's even going to play at all tonight. By the way, just cycling back to one game, you're starting to see the Sixes now show like we thought on Golden State at Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, Angel being out really hurts them. She does so much for them, but I do think they, kind of like I was talking about Caitlin Clark in the Fever, they've adjusted to life without her a little bit. They know what to do. Like, Bantam's going to be more assertive offensively. Same with Rebecca Allen, even Kia Nurse a little bit. I think we'll see some points there, but not having Angel is obviously a detriment to the team. But going back to Liberty, what I'm hoping for is they blow them out because I would grab the points with the Sun on Sunday. So it's a 2-game series, both in Connecticut. And then on deck for the Liberty or Tuesday is Dallas at home, who they just lost to. So I think that's the spot to back the Sun. I know a really sharp guy, really sharp group today that did take the plus 11.5. I disagree. Honestly, I think I'm sharper than the sharpest WNBA group. So I do pay attention, but I'm not deterred. So I hope the Liberty roll them. And then I like the Sun in a sleepy game on Sunday, 1 p.m. tip out east. I think that's a classic look ahead spot. Liberty need this game. They want this. They'll be focused. They've lost 3 straight. The spot is better for the Sun on Sunday. Would you agree to that?
I would agree with that. And then the Liberty, they get that one quick home game with Dallas, and then they go to Dallas. So, yeah, that I could see maybe, kind of I don't want to say half-ass effort, but not full effort on Sunday if they get by them pretty easily.
Right. We need them to take care of business here. Hey, Petey on the conversation says, I think if Mieselman plays, New York Liberty are apt to play through to the end of a blowout in order to work her into the mix. That's a good point. So if you maybe see some Mieselman props or live betting fourth quarter, they're going to want to know what they have, work out the kinks, if you will. So there's something to be said about that. I think that's an astute point by Petey. So thanks for and join the conversation. Let us know your thoughts as well. So let's get to one more game, and then we'll circle back maybe on some other props. The Sparks visit the Storm. LA had won 5 straight, scoring at least 90 in all of those, then got a rude awakening by Asia Wilson and the Aces at home. But the Sparks have been terrible at home. So this game now 5.5 in the Pacific Northwest. Seattle's favored at home, 169.5. I know the Sparks are better on the road, but I feel like that road trip up in the Pacific Northwest is tough. Now it's tougher for teams coming, from the East and things like that. Storm just play down to their opponent. They play with their food a little bit. I think this number's right. I don't think much of the Sparks team. I would play the over, if anything. But right now, I got nothing on this game. What about you?
Yeah, the Storm, by the way, have not played since Monday, so they're fully rested. So the cross country travel not going to be that big of a deal here. But the Storm haven't won 2 consecutive games since almost a month, July 6th. They've been winning one, losing one, winning one, losing one, and they've had some questionable losses too. They lost twice to Washington, including at home. They had a loss at Connecticut, remember, and they were like 16-point favorites, and they lost outright at Connecticut back on July 9th. The bad home loss to Dallas. So this has been kind of a sketchy team, and they really haven't played, and they're not getting one of the elite teams tonight, certainly with LA, but they hadn't played any big good since they won that game at the Liberty there at the Barclays Center on July 6th. So I'm wondering about where this Storm team is, because I think that they have a high ceiling, but they just are not consistent enough. And then we talked about LA the other night where they got the rude awakening, and I regret not laying it with the Aces on the road because the Sparks had kind of beaten up on some of the weaker teams. So that was a good sell high spot. So is this a buy low? But 5.5, I think, is probably an appropriate number here. It's you know what, I'm trying to, because it's Sparks or pass for me. But gosh, I'm
allow you to buy the hook. You can buy hooks here. It's going to cost you though, but you got to buy it.
Yeah, I'm right on the borderline here, because it would be Sparks or pass for me, because I do kind of like to play that market game a little bit, where I think that this is a little bit of a higher price, or maybe a tax off the Sparks losing, where it's like, okay, because that's the wisdom, right? Okay, they aren't that good, right? Now
Right.
They were a fraud and all that, and
those 5 wins were against some bad teams. They were shaky opponents.
Sure, but I think the Sparks offensively, obviously they're getting there offensively, and it's not just Kelsey Plum. We've seen Andrew Stevens, I think has really stepped up. Hamby has been consistent. You've seen some flashes out of Rakia Jackson. Keep in mind, by the way, too, that they are trying to slowly bring along Cameron Brink, who did make her her debut the other night. She's not in the starting lineup. I think she only had what she have 5 points and 3 rebounds. I guess went under her prop. So if Cameron Brink props get posted, maybe look some unders, because I still don't think that she is there necessarily on the minutes. And that is something I think that you want to keep in mind there. How many minutes did she play? She played 13 the other night. So you got to think she's going to be about the same here, where she's going to be, you know, anywhere 12 to 15 minutes. So I would be, if you get some Brink props, and I don't think that a lot of them are out there right now, but maybe closer to game time you'll get them. I'd be looking some unders on some points and rebounds. But now that I'm looking, you know what? Let's go Sparks 5.5.
Okay, so not buying the hook, just taking the 5.5. Think it's a good spot. Little bounce back for the Sparks, because they're focused on the playoffs. They got Brink back. They're outside looking in, but they can make a move in the standings, and they're chasing the Mystics and the Valkyries. So it's not like murderers rows ahead of them. They'll have some opportunities, some head-to-heads. This is a big game. This is a big game for the Sparks. The Storm, you know, at full strength, have been pretty solid, but that game on Monday, look, they played the Sun. Who cares? They blew them out. It'll be interesting. This is a good game. So you're on the Sparks plus the 5.5.
And
Just a
by the
reminder,
way,
oh yes.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt there.
Good.
They beat the Sparks by 30 earlier in the season too. So there's that. And the Storm also have a big game with the Fever on Sunday. You know, I don't know if I want to buy too much into the look ahead, but I think that's there because the Fever did beat them. That was the game where Caitlin first got hurt, by the way, and had a poor game, but we didn't know the extent of the injury. So the Fever, by the way, I do think that there's a little bit of reality to that, where they kind of are the target a little bit. The every game is a home game, right? Because they're selling out all the buildings on the road, largely on the back of Caitlin Clark. And these teams, look, when the Fever come into their house, you know, they're going to see opposing jerseys and all that. So they want to beat the Fever's butts, you know. So that might be, okay, we're really going to be focused on that game. So you could catch them sleeping here tonight. So Sparks plus 5.5.
All right. So I like that angle a lot. Just a reminder, another UFC card this weekend. We want to let you know about a new show, a relatively new show that is posted this morning, Betting Weekly Fight Life with Kyle Andrew and Paul Hughes, discussing fight night for Saturday night. So a lot of good entertaining content. I've listened to every single show of theirs since they started this summer, and it's really good breakdown of the main event, co-main event, and some of the other plays they like on the card. So I encourage everyone to go check that out. We're going to circle back to some of the games we've already discussed. We have some interesting comments here, and we want to encourage everyone to join the conversation in the comments section. Adam Osimo asking about Paige Becker's over 17.5 points. She's gone off for 21 and 27 in her 2 meetings with the Fever. She's also on a hot streak, topping 20 points in her last 2 games. I think it's key to recognize, is Paige scoring when Enrique did not play or did play in those previous meetings with the Fever? I think that's obviously imperative, because she is more of a willing scorer when Enrique is not in the lineup. Now, I know the last couple games Enrique was in the lineup, but I'm just looking at the most recent Indiana game where she went for 21. I'm calling this up now. The Fever dropped 102, but yeah, Enrique did play in that game. So I'm all right with that. I wouldn't bet the under. What do you make of Becker's over 17.5?
Yeah, I'd lean over here. I'm not going to bet it because her numbers recently have been 16.5, and she's gone over the last 3 times. Had 18 against Atlanta, 20 against the Liberty, 17, which hurt my feelings because I had the under. She got an and one in like the final minute. Where she was hanging under, didn't go over 17.5 against Dallas. So these were 17.5. Then they went back down to 16.5, and she's cleared the last 3 times. So I think, you know, I'm in line with the market there at 17.5. I think that's probably the right number. I wouldn't bet the under though.
Yeah, that's not something I want to get involved in, because I do expect a high scoring game, as I was alluding to earlier. I like what Petey was saying about, you know, the Valkyries games. You know, he's basically saying it's a terrible flat spot, but he goes, if it was any team other than the Sky or Sun, I'd fade the Valks. But he's not He's not jumping in front of that train with the Sky. I think they're going to be sneaky good value here. I think we're going to see points. I've touched on it as my plays. I just really like a high scoring game. And the Valkyries bomb, man. They bomb. Like I was texting a buddy yesterday when Zaldacini was ruled out, really sharp WNBA better. And I go, gosh, it's really tough, with Sandalcini's out. He goes, does it even matter with this team? They just reload these
Yeah.
wings who bomb threes. And I said, I know. She's awesome, though. He goes, yeah, she is. But they just reload. And sure enough, they just had other players bombing threes. And to your point from during the show yesterday, Kate Martin got some run and was hitting big threes.
Finally. I don't know what's going on there. She's been like on the side of a milk carton for this team, and they finally play her, and I mean, maybe not great defensively, but man, she can make bucks. They call her Kate Martin for a reason. So I think, far from me to question the coach out there, who I think has done a really good job with this team. But maybe need to see it. Maybe need to see a little bit more of Kate Martin. Not saying she has to start, but she can give you some scoring off the bench. And this is a team, and we saw them. They only had 68 last night. And we even mentioned that they're going to have trouble scoring some of these nights. So there are going to be nights where I know you want to play that pace and space, but you're not going to be able to have the firepower to do that every single night. So maybe looking at Valkyries unders might be good game by game basis.
Imagine winning a road game when you're an underdog, a road game, and you score only 6 points in the fourth quarter.
Right.
But that was enough. That was enough.
Yeah.
I just think they bogged down. So maybe it does get sluggish. Maybe I'm a little crazy with my over. I just think the Sky's good. I think the Sky are going to light them up too. I think we're going to see a track meet here. I really do, because that's the Sky's path to victory. They don't want to get in a half court with them because the Valkyries are too good. I just think the Mystics were kind of like in a funk themselves. I think the Sky can hang. I would not lay the points here. I would grab. I think the Sky are more competent now than they were. Like the first game they played without Angel, I was like double fisting at the counter betting against them on their team total under. They're completely inept, all that stuff. But they've worked some stuff out. I think Rebecca Allen was hurt for a little bit. She's back. Elizabeth Williams is playing well in the post. Cardoso, don't get me started. You know my feelings towards her. But everyone else can shoot, and they're going to bomb threes. I like your Bantam play a lot. I think that's a really sharp angle. I think she's going to eat today. Against a Valkyries defense. It's like you said, played a lot of games. They have another game coming up. They need the wins. They're not good enough to look past opponents, but I can see them being a little on the flat side.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm not going to do anything with the side. I can't bet the Sky with no Angel Reese, but I think this is a little bit of a shaky spot for Golden State. Market certainly doesn't agree. They're coming in on the Valkyries. So nothing definitely on the side for me.
Real quick, tomorrow, high-profile game on ABC. The Lynx off the big win in the rematch of the finals at the Aces. Big favorites at Bet Rivers. They're 6 minus 115. Any early read on this game?
Yeah, not yet for me. Maybe a little lean toward the over at 165 and a half, or 164 and a half actually right now at Bet Rivers. A big win for the Lynx. So, it is kind of I don't want to say it's a total calm down because the Aces, of course,
it is
former champions, but I think it is at this point because I think people see that the Aces, this is not the Las Vegas Aces of old. This team's got some issues. Now they still have maybe arguably the best player, not the MVP this year, certainly, but maybe arguably the best player in the league with Deja Wilson. So that always gives you a chance. I think Jackie Young has been solid contributing and has been making some shots lately. They did put Lloyd off the bench. Lloyd, I think, only had a few in the game the other night at LA, but some of the young players, they're still trying to bring along Aaliyah Nye and Kirsten Bell for the Aces. They're certainly getting more clock, at least in terms of a minutes distribution. So nothing on the side that seems big. And I think there's going to be people tempted to be on the Aces, getting 6 even in some places right now. But would lean over here, but nothing yet for me. Now, one thing I do want to add, because I'm just looking over as we're doing the show. Let's go to the Sparks Storm game, and let's add Stevens over 7.5 rebounds.
Oh, okay. What was the
So,
reason for that?
so what I was looking at, and something I sometimes like to do in player props, and had a little bit of success with it, doing it with the NBA. When you get, and I'm just pulling up her numbers though, so give me just 1 second. You look at the rebounds, and she was smashing these earlier in July. I think it was 7.5 rebounds, and she went over like 4 straight times, and they kept raising the juice. Okay, it's 120 now. Now it's 125. Now it's 150 on the close. So she goes over. She had 12 against the Fever, 10 against the Lynx, 11 against Connecticut, 8 against the Mystics. Then it's like, okay, we've been getting beat on this, and now we got to raise it to 8.5. And then, of course, what do you see? Under a couple unders here, under 8.5 since the Mystics, 8 against Connecticut. Did have 11 against the Liberty in that shootout game. Of course, that helped when Stewie got injured. That certainly helps her cause. And then goes under against the Aces because it ended up being a blowout. She had 8. So now it's back down to 7.5. So now they make the adjustment downwards as she goes under 3 of the last 4. So it's a little bit of a zigzag here that you can do on the prop. So over 7.5 rebounds for me on Stevens tonight in Seattle.
Okay, I will say that Seattle's good on the boards. You have obviously Ezzy and NECA, so that's a little concerning. Even Wheeler can board for her position, and Hamby and some of the others on LA. So we'll see if there's enough rebounds to go around. But Stevens over or 8+ rebounds for Wes Reynolds minus 132.
Well,
All
and
right.
what I'm seeing a little bit of movement. I'm seeing a little bit of movement on the alts too. So Stevens is getting hit on the alts, right? Like 9.5, 11.5, 13.5. So somebody out there likes that over.
Okay. All right. So you're reading the market, reading the screen, as we like to say in the comment section. PD loved your milk carton comment, and Adam Osimo, a feeling we have always had. I'm going to leave the Valkyries alone tonight, so they will probably cover. Yes, we've all been there, Adam. That's just the nature of betting. We all have that FOMO because we want to avoid that feeling. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break. We so much appreciate you tuning in. Remember, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We also have Betting Weekly Hardball, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. We also have that relatively new show that launched. We want you to check it out with Kyle and Paul, Betting Weekly Fight Life, to preview tomorrow night's fight night. But, for Wes Reynolds and everyone else behind the scenes that does all the heavy lifting, making us look good, the producing, the graphics, the directing, I'm Doug Kezirian. Have a great weekend. Good luck, and we'll see you back here next week.